I knocked Jimi Hendrix over. Not like the statue, but like the real one.
Yeah.
So we just had him set up in the closet for the past 30-something years, and I feel kind of bad, but I just, trying to push some boxes in there, and where Jimmy is just a casualty of circumstance. So,
dang.
Dang. So let's wait for a little bit, get some people in here. It's been a while since we've had another episode.
Yeah, we made the office look nice.
Mm-hmm.
Nicer.
So it's been a little over a month. We're averaging the podcast not once a week, but once a month at this point when it's working.
Busy.
We've been busy. There's been a lot of really, really big things happening, which is great. A lot on your end. I mean, you've gotten your driver's license back.
I did.
You're now mobile once again.
I am mobile.
You are immobile.
No.
I mean, you're mobile.
Yeah.
There it is. Okay. What? This is what's cool is freedom of speech.
Yeah. You can just say shit.
I can just say it. It doesn't have to be true. That is actually one of the best God-given rights that we have is we can say literally anything we want. It does not make it free from consequence, but we are gifted with the ability to just sprout nonsense if we feel it is necessary.
Yeah. I don't know what to say to that.
You're not going to be the one to say that?
I don't know what you want me to say to that.
Oh, you can say whatever you want. That's the best part.
Right.
You can shut me down immediately, or you can accept and create further.
Sorry.
About what?
I'm adjusting myself.
Oh, that's fine. That's fine. People can see live. Actually, nobody's watching, so nobody can see.
Yeah,
but
nobody can see my cool hat.
For the people that are simply listening somewhere in the future, when I get to uploading this in the next 3 years or so, it's a process, man. Like, it's not actually a quick endeavor to get those done.
Yeah, that's true.
So I apologize for taking so long. But at the rate that we're going with the podcast this year, I might have all of them done by the time, we can start catching up. And, So I say.
We can start doing it. We can start doing it more often.
Podcasting? Yeah, I mean, we just get stuff comes up. I mean, whether family's in town or we're out of town, or just things.
It's
happen.
been a year.
Different circumstances. It has been one of those.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see, and I want to make sure everything got posted properly because YouTube and Facebook.
Oh, I didn't retweet it or read.
You should definitely, yeah.
I don't tweet. I didn't repost it.
You should definitely do
I'm
that.
Gonna share it.
Yeah.
Share it.
That's fine. Share alike.
That's right. Sharing. Copy. Paste.
Copy and paste. In the meantime, how have you been? I mean, I see you every single day for many hours.
Are you really asking me?
Per day. I'm asking more for the people that are watching.
I'm good. I'm actually doing really well. Yeah. Great day today, and yeah, I'm doing well.
There it is.
Yeah.
We have our answer.
I tried to bleach my hair, and didn't work.
Something worked. And the desired result was not achieved. But something happened. Part of it.
Today, Becca told me my hair looked like moss.
Like the color of or the texture?
Well, the texture hasn't changed, so it has to be the color of. I suppose that's where I'm blessed, is that it's not really damaged.
Yeah, the texture is still very good.
So, yeah.
Yeah, that's very fortunate.
Yes.
And we're sort of idling right now, but, it's kind of fun to wait till somebody comes in. At the same time, though, I mean, if this is a podcast that is about... if one is to watch this later, they're probably going to want to get to the meat and potatoes of this. And if somebody comes into the chat room in the middle of us just going, we'll, change accordingly.
Yes.
We'll adapt.
Correct.
See?
Yeah.
So, we've actually, in the past couple weeks, really had like a lot of stuff come up mentally that we've been thinking of cats outside are killing each other.
Yeah.
We've been thinking of, and we always say, let's discuss it on the podcast. And then from week to week we forget, or it changes, and we
get busy,
move forward. So there's a lot of different factors that go into why this sort of shifts, and that's fine. I think it's fine. And then some days like tonight, yesterday we'd actually discussed the idea of hey, let's talk about gaming culture and how toxic that is. And that's maybe a couple days ago. It was maybe just earlier this week, and we thought on the podcast, let's do this.
Because that's when I read that article when we were at Tractor.
That's correct. And but then at this point, like this evening, I was just thinking, well, maybe it would be good to talk about this other thing that's been on my mind, and maybe you have something on your mind that you'd like to talk about. And
yeah, well, sometime last week we were talking about maybe, because I got in that. I don't do a lot of this, but I got into like an argument in the comment section of that one article that I had read with that girl about what it's like being bisexual.
Oh, right. Yeah. Absolutely. I was
pretty irritated.
Did you want to elaborate so people, anybody listening can,
Yeah, I mean, I try not to get heated.
That's fair. I mean, let's just
made me really
discuss objectively. And yeah,
the article was titled, and the content of the article is kind of what you would expect. It was titled something along the lines of, like, we need to stop allowing, have a ban on straight, cisgendered white men in queer spaces. And I mean, I get what they're going for. But as a pansexual woman who happens to be in a relationship with a cisgendered man, a straight cisgendered man,
right?
When things like that get talked about, and I wasn't the only person in the comment section that mentioned how this was really exclusionary to bisexual women, or just bisexual people in general, mostly women. Like it's bisexual women and pansexual women who happen to be in heterosexual relationships, and their partners. And this isn't the first time I've posted about bi erasure and pan erasure, and how like being part of the queer community and being in a relationship that's like straight passing kind of like erases you from the queer community, like in some people's eyes. It's, but I'm too queer to be considered straight, but I'm not queer enough to be considered queer by some people. And so like the idea would then be that I can't go to like a gay club and take you because you're not welcome in that space. And the implication is that because you're dangerous. And
I am as a very firm ally to the cause. I am extremely watch out.
Yeah, and then I posted, and like a whole bunch of people, there's like 70 people that had liked my comment. I was like, this kind of rhetoric is exclusionary to members of the queer community. The B in LGBTQ. We don't use the P all that often. It's like in the plus at the LGBTQIA plus, like that pansexual is part of, but like for all intents and purposes. And I don't like being called bisexual, but like it helps some people to understand.
Sure.
It helps some people understand, and that's fine. And in that case, yeah, it's the B. And yet most of the time, people sort of treat us like we're not part of the queer community, not queer enough for the queer community.
You're right.
And like having learned at the beginning of this year that I was part of the intersex community, and like what that implied for my life, like, and still feeling though sort of alienated, like as a member of the queer community, but like, oh, but you're not one of us because you're this and that, and you're exercising mobility. And it's like, not really. And I don't like, I have complicated feelings on the subject.
Sure.
Because I would, this summer, in June, when we start doing Pride celebrations, I would like to be able to go, and I would like to be able to be my true authentic self. And I would like to be able to celebrate who I am and where I've come through and what I've gone through to be where I'm at now, living as me. And I would like to be able to go with my partner and not feel like I'm not welcome because I can't take you. And when people in the queer community posit this rhetoric that say, oh, well, cisgendered straight men are not welcome, it's like, then I'm not welcome. So you're saying that I'm not welcome anymore.
I have a lot of questions because since I'm not part of, this community proper, I want to be an ally and understand as much. There's a lot of questions that I have that simply I don't understand. And if I can ask you some questions, and it sounds like you're at an impasse with people as well, because
I'm also ticked off, and like it's complicated, and I recognize that it's complicated, and I recognize that it requires a lot of really nuanced and deep, sort of in-depth, difficult conversation, and not just making these sort of blanket decisions of like, oh, this kind of person is dangerous. We can't do that. That's not how any progress is ever made.
So what would I have to be perceived as for you to be welcomed as pansexual or bisexual in any capacity? Like, I mean,
there's a woman.
So so basically bisexual doesn't actually exist to them because
that's why bi erasure is the thing. And the reason I got so angry is because somebody commented underneath my comment saying that like this is a thing that this is why bi erasure is really real. And like a whole bunch of people liked my comment, and then this one person decided to comment underneath and was like, I won't argue that bi erasure is a real thing, but this is not how you're erased. And that you could go literally anywhere else, but you don't have to be here. And it's like, hang on. So this is not how I'm erased, but I'm not welcome here?
Yeah.
Is that what you're like?
Trying
you
to
can
erase
say those
you
in
from
literally
this.
the same sentence. It's so easy for you.
Yeah.
Like, I can't go literally anywhere else because like when I, first came out to my family, whatever, I got rocks thrown at me. Like I can't just take back everything that's happened.
Where else do you feel that I am welcome? Because it's not, if it's not here and it's not there.
Where am I supposed to go?
Right. Right. There's no clear answer. It's sort of like, I've wondered that as well, because it's either if you're bi, then, well, if you're dating a man, then of course you're straight. And if you're dating a woman, then we consider you, queer. But there's like the in between that we want to say as a safe space doesn't actually exist.
Yeah, unless you're like in a, here's the thing, I guess, is
if you're like polyamorous.
Yes, I was gonna say, I think if you're a bisexual person who believes it, who's into monogamy, or whatever the case, if you want a monogamous relationship and then you happen to end up in a heterosexual relationship, then people think that you've like chosen to leave the queer community. But what I would say is to remind all those heterosexual people out there, or all those gay people out there, when you enter into even if it is a monogamous relationship, you don't stop being attracted to other people. Like your sexual orientation doesn't change.
Right.
And it's not one of those things that just because I've decided that you are my partner and that we're in this together, you are my life partner. Like we are more than just like sexual partners, for lack of another way to say that. Like,
absolutely.
You're my life partner. And I don't know. Try not to get mad.
No, yeah. And
it's not one of those, it's not like I suddenly like reverted or changed. Like that's not what that is.
Right.
And the concept that a lot of people have that is what happens is bi erasure. And that's the idea that like we don't really exist. We're not real people. Or like that's not a real, almost a condition, like a way to, that's not a real orientation.
Yeah.
And it perpetuates binary. It perpetuates all of those things that are really,
And it seems like the community would want to really welcome something that is non-binary because that's such a huge issue. It seems theoretically, this is what the community is born of, is to accept all. And of course, you're also, I think, in any community, you're going to have people that you're going to meet with resistance, and people who, push or are more radical than others. And this is literally any community. And we could, the gaming community, the LGBTQ community, everything, the gun owning community, everybody has like an extreme of people who are willing to listen and understand, and people who are also so set in their ways that they refuse to accept a new ideology or welcome somebody who may be even struggling to fit in. And you always risk alienating people who wish to find a community to be part of when you say, oh, well, welcome to our community, unless you're not exactly the way we want you to be.
Yeah, we've talked about this. Well, I rant about this a lot.
Sure.
It's very close to my heart. We, as a queer community, we're not perfect. We're
as humans, that's, I think, the only real solace is that we're all fallible. And unfortunately, it sucks when we try to create a safe haven for people, and that too also has fallacies within it. But I mean, that's also the nature of all of us, and that we're never going to find anything that is ever 100% to everybody's liking. But it's unfortunate when it ends up excluding people and making them feel bad. Yeah. That is a really,
that's the thing. I think that's the the crux of it is like, you're not this enough. You're not this enough. You're not this enough.
Right.
And then, this comes around in a lot of different ways. It looks different, has many different masks, but it's the same sort of thing. We like to try and validate each other or invalidate each other. And, you know, I think we do this even in the straight community, but like, I say we, I don't know. I think it happens in the straight community. Yes. I think it happens all across the spectrum. And, you know, I was talking about this even the other day, that I see people saying things online or saying, you know, nasty things about like, people in the trans community that like, we prioritize people who are passing, like, and we, and if you're not, if you're, you know, gender non-conforming, or if you don't think in like gender binary in the way that you want to represent yourself, you fall through the cracks as far as like where you're going to be, where your support or representation is going to be. Right. It's not fair. No. It's not right. And it's complicated. It is. And I get that. Like, we need to just be better to each other. We need to support and love people for who they are and where they're at, and, you know, regardless. We do this real thing that like sort of, this is what women look like, this is what men look like, and you know, we make a lot of excuses all across the way. And this is how women behave, this is how men behave, this is how gay people behave, this is how gay men behave, this is how gay women behave. And if you don't fit those slots, you know, you fall like in the cracks of like of behavior. We like to give people identity in that sense of like, this is what this person looks like. Created a label. When you don't look like that, you don't fit in, and then it's, oh, you're not one of us, you know, when you are. What a frustrating place to be. And I know, you know, as someone who is not part of that community actively, or within it, somebody who is striving to understand and, you know, support and, you know, listen, I've got, you know, my own way to identify the exact same problem. So it's like a human conditioning problem that in every subgroup that we decide to partake in, we have like, somebody inside is going to have a tendency to try to create conditions under which, well, you know, come in, but you still have to qualify in such a way for your reasoning here to be valid, which is unfortunate. Okay. Yeah, and I think there's a lot of deep-seated irony, and going back to like the original argument that I got into that article, and people were starting to say that like the reason that I wouldn't be allowed to bring my straight partner to a club is because you would be dangerous to other people. And I have been, and I've told you about this, assaulted at clubs before, and it's never actually been by a man. Right, yeah, you actually, yes. I think, which is the irony. Yeah. You know, I was at a club in El Paso at Touch Bar, I'm going to say, in El Paso, and I got like pinned into a bathroom stall by a group of really butchy lesbians, which is fine. No, it's not fine. Yeah, like, it's fine for them to be butchy lesbians. Yeah, that's fine. Like, but like they weren't men. They were not straight men, I think is the thing. Like it was because I had apparently like led somebody on, because I was having a nice conversation with one of them, and she wanted to buy me a drink. I declined, went to go to the bathroom, and then was in the bathroom and couldn't get out of the stall. Like, because I don't know. So trapped. Yeah, trapped. Right. And it was like, and not okay in that context. No, it's absolutely not acceptable. Yeah. Like, you're not going to convince me that without condition, like the most dangerous people that will be at clubs are always going to be straight men. That's not a fact. It's hard because then it seems like you're looking for somebody to become a scapegoat in the event that something does go wrong. You say, oh, well, see, he wasn't allowed in here because something bad happened. Therefore, like, it's his fault. My partner is not going to hurt anybody. No. You know? And you're now telling me that I have to go to a straight bar where anybody who finds out that I'm bisexual is going to be trying to coerce me immediately into a threesome. Right. Yeah. And I am in a lot more danger at a straight bar than I am in it. I'm not in danger at a queer bar. I am in danger at a straight bar. Like, I can't be around like those straight dudes because that person assumes that I'm into kinky shit, and that I would have a willing threesome with them and their girlfriend. Like, and that's not me. That's not who I am or what I'm into. And then if I try and say that, they get nasty and aggressive and things go out of control. I don't want to be in those places. And for you to then tell me that I can go anywhere else and I'm not welcome to be safe in a community that I should be able to be safe in because you think my partner is gonna assault someone. Right. Like, and then you go to this queer bar and get assaulted by people, but then they say, well, it's in the sanctity
or there's a different type of consent here. I'm not sure what the thought process is, but there has to be something mentally going on that allows them to say, well, we can excuse it because it's under a different pretense. And maybe it's just an inadvertent kind of thing, but I feel like there's like a different mentality going in, from my understanding, where it's saying by coming here, you offer a different type of consent because you're around this personage. I'm not exactly sure. That's sort of what I'm hearing and trying to understand, because I'm sure equally as confusing to me as it is to you.
And here's the thing that really gets to me is that, like, if you try and say that, like, there's some kind of complete ban on all cisgendered straight men that can go to queer bars. Do you have, I don't have like a queer identity card that I can just go up and be like, oh, I'm queer.
Like a rainbow ID or something.
Neither do you.
Yeah.
You know, if you're the kind of person who is looking to go assault queer people at a club, you're gonna go do it anyway. You know, you don't have the I'm gay card. Like, that doesn't exist. Yeah. You know,
I could be a crappy gay dude who walks in.
But the people that it directly affects are the partners of bisexual and pansexual women. Right. Because you will immediately be identified as heterosexual because you are with me. Right. And I'm a woman. Yeah. And you
if I'm your partner, then
and then you can be identified as dangerous.
Right.
Dangerous. And that's, I think, what bothers me about it, is because if like a solo man goes in, he can pretend to be gay. And this has happened, and I've seen this. This happened to a friend of mine around February of last year. Actually, when he first started talking to me again when I was in El Paso. That same time that I got pinned in the bar by a lesbian, which is fine, you know. But it was not fine. Whatever, you know what I mean? Like, I'm trying to tell myself that I'm okay. And a really nice man bought me cheese fries out of a taco truck, and I cried outside for over an hour. I was fine. Like, so, you know, we live and we learn. But yeah, it's just frustrating because, like, I've seen that happen, and that kind of person is going to be able to do that. And the people that you're directly blocking access from are members of your own community. Right. And to deny that to someone's face when they say, hey, this makes me feel like I'm not welcome. Sure. Like, well, you can go anywhere else. It's like, I can go anywhere else and actually not be safe.
Yeah, absolutely.
Is what you're telling me.
So Luke Frohawker walks in and says, not sure what I just walked into, but I'm intrigued by the conversation. And this is an interesting one. This is, and it extends to a variety of communities, but this is from your personal account of you as a pansexual person, not feeling safe within a certain community that is created for people who are not of the cisgendered community.
Yeah, or, I mean, there are a lot of people in the LGBTQ community who are cisgendered.
That's true. And it's created to have like a safe haven so that way you can feel safe. But even you are not...
Well, it's more like not feeling welcome, I think, than not feeling
welcome
safe.
is probably better terminology.
And it was because of an article that I saw online. It's this rhetoric that's kind of popping up that we want a scapegoat. And I understand that, but I feel like the intelligent thing to do is to have nuanced conversations about what we can actually do to better, you know, what's going on in our society, as opposed to like setting these really rigid and problematic structured lines that like, you know, blocking allies and blocking the partners of members of your community is not how you fix that problem.
When you make things exclusive, it can actually, it can be a judgment. I understand to a degree, like an exclusivity, but I also think you have to be willing to listen, understand, and if you want to increase the reach of what you're trying to stand for, you have to be willing to also extend your hand at some point and say, welcome on board so I can instruct you for what we're fighting for. How can you help? Because if you continue to resist the entire time, you're actually simply isolating yourself, creating a resistance, you're creating a gap there, and that actually is detrimental to a cause, I think, because you're not allowing people to understand. You're preventing the coming together so people can learn and understand and make a situation potentially better.
Yeah. Yeah. And the thing is, like, and I feel as though this is like a standard thing that I typically say is that even if you are opposed to something, not that that's necessarily fine, but like, I think I'm more okay with that than you trying to sort of lie to me about it. If this person that I'd gotten into the argument with had simply said, you know what, I'm fine with you not being welcome because that will still make me feel more safe. I don't like that answer. but I'll accept it.
But it's an honest.
Don't try and placate me though,
Right.
and say like, oh, I understand you're completely right. Bi-erasure is very real, but that's not how, and you're still not welcome. And it's like, hang on, bitch. No.
Yeah. Just give me a personal account of how you feel and leave it at that.
Like that's what I don't want to hear. It's like I don't want you to say in the same breath as you're right, then say, but I'm gonna then tell you you're still not welcome.
Right.
You know, oh, but this is not how it's done. But then I'm going to immediately like nullify that statement by telling you that it is how it's done.
Sure.
Like that's what I don't want to see.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I've heard some people compare under that same comment thread who are just kind of like, I understand this whole like partners of this and whatever, but it's like playing a game of Russian roulette, and you know the whole not all of the rounds have a bullet in them, but one of them does.
Right.
And it's like, I don't like that analogy. I don't think it's actually accurate to the situation, but I get it.
Yeah.
And if to you that's the way you think about it, and you're okay with excluding members of your own queer community to keep some other members that you've prioritized safe, fine. I don't agree with you, but at least you're being honest about what it is that you believe, and not trying to tell me that you're there to fight by erasure and blah, but this isn't it. Yes, it is. Yeah. And if you're fine with this being that because you think it's more important to protect these other people, I don't agree with you, but okay. Okay. But that's what I have I think really twisted my...
Yeah. One is trustworthy. The other has no issue lying to save face in public.
Correct.
I think that's a really good way to put it. Absolutely.
It's like, you know, and the internet culture is really interesting. I think about this is that queer politics are really complicated. Like they're tricky. And sometimes I even like, I stumble on my own words and when I'm trying to just like ruminate about something that's bothering me or I'm trying to figure it out. I understand how complicated things can be. I understand how ruthless the internet can be. And if you say the wrong thing once, people will never forgive you. Right. So you have to really try to, I support everything. I support this, I support whatever, even if you don't, you know, and so it's hard for me to try and like reconcile with the person who clearly is not supporting my inclusion or my involvement, but then says that they are. Right. And I don't like, I will respect you a lot more if you simply say, I've prioritized these people over you.
It's a much easier thing to face.
It sucks.
Right. But it's honest.
Yeah.
There's no question. Hard, there's no, what are your motivations?
Because I'm under the impression that like if somebody will be more honest about that, then we can discuss, all right, well, here's how you're prioritizing, here's how you think about it this way. How can we prioritize these people and their safety and not exclude other members of the community? Like how can we do this with everybody being safe and happy and included? And like, but if you're lying to yourself in any capacity, you can't fix it. Right. And there's a lot of that, I think, that happens where people are like, oh, I'm not this and that. You know, like those like TERFs, I think make me the most angry of anything on the planet. Like people who, so for those who don't know that terminology, TERF means trans exclusionary radical feminist, which are radical feminists who believe that trans women are actually men trying to like take advantage of the system. Right. There are a few things that make me more angry than that. But they still have this like inability to reconcile that what they're doing is not activism. And it's hard to have a conversation with people like that because they in their head have justifications for every wrong that they say. Like they're the best activists, they're this and that. And it's like, oh, this is hard. Like if you're lying to yourself in any capacity about what that sense of equality looks like, then it's impossible to have a conversation about real change with you. Right. And that makes me really upset. Absolutely. Josh says, as a straight cis who is 100%, 110% an ally of the LGBT community, I've experienced this rejection by some in that community I think you're speaking of. It's part of why I quit Twitter. I mostly listen these days and just express my support for equal rights and fair treatment of all. Well, I think sometimes, and I think this is something that has made me always feel very supported and that you've said many times before, often the best thing that you can do is listen. If you are not a member of that community, what you need to be doing is listening. Like it truly is. You know, I'm not a member of the trans community, so I need to shut the fuck up. Like I will sometimes talk about things in the privacy of my own home, like when I'm trying to understand them and like how.
Yeah. Like, well, discussion for the sake of knowledge, I think, is extremely important.
Right. But I'm not going to go on Facebook and try and tell other people about it. Because
exactly.
I have no right.
Right. We're simply
for all
trying
intents
to learn.
and purposes, cisgender.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
I would say that.
Yeah.
Like.
And so, for the sake of trying to learn and trying to understand, there's a way and a time to do it. Absolutely.
Yeah.
And being supportive, I think one of the best things that you can do is when you're talking to somebody in a community that needs your support, is to let them know that you're not there to give the input, but that you've heard, you're listening, and you will continue to silently work on understanding, not so you can step up and be like, I know too, but to be like,
I heard,
you know,
that's what's really hard.
Yeah.
It's like, I remember sitting and like just sobbing on the couch towards the beginning of the year when someone that I know had posted some stuff about people who are intersexed on Facebook. And so I tried to talk to this person as someone who was born on the intersex spectrum. And I was like, listen, here's kind of an account of what that's like. And, where you're wrong about some of the things that you said. And this person argued with me. And it was incredibly upsetting. Like it fucked up my whole evening. I was mad as hell. Like, and you know, that's exactly what you need to not do.
Right.
Like you may think that you have an understanding of something, but if someone then comes to you as a member of that community, don't argue with them.
Yeah.
Like don't tell them what you think you know.
Listen and learn.
Yeah.
Listen. You know, and then the thing about that as well, too, is because you might have one account that somebody in your situation has that's different.
Yeah.
And so listen to both.
Yes.
And take the time to understand both. And don't be like, well, this person told me, therefore, this, and that.
I read this on the internet.
Listen to you. Listen to them. Listen to they. Listen to get as much as you can. And Josh says, I think so, too. And I listen and vote according to my values as effective as I can be right now. And I'm in the same boat, you know, because it is never going to be my place to be like, well, so-and-so told me, therefore, but I've heard this and I'm seeking for more understanding. Please tell me yours instead of arguing, you know, with somebody. And that's something that I very much want to continue to work on as well, too, is to say, if I'm not part of it, the only thing I can do, the only position I can take is to listen and understand more.
Yeah. And that, you'd be amazed how much that will make someone feel heard.
Very
important. I'm not going to go on Facebook and start preaching about race politics. I'm white. You know, but it's true. Like I am nothing but privileged. And while I see inequity and while I think I understand from a theoretical point, I have no right, you know?
Yeah. And there's still also no full understanding of some of these things that we will never experience.
Yeah.
You know?
I understand it from a textbook.
Yes.
Basically.
Yes.
Like, because I've been told or because I've seen it from the other side of the glass, from the privileged side of the glass.
Right.
You know? Like, I'm not going to sit here and try and tell somebody else about how that
works.
I got... Breathe. Because you saw it happen. The day of my grandparents' funeral, a family member tried to straight-splain queer politics to the only queer member of the family in the room.
Right.
And I had to sit there and listen with my teeth gritted because it was just like...
Yeah, that's rough.
Oh, it was hard.
That's rough.
It's hard. It's just like, okay.
Yep. And in cases like that, I usually I've gotten to the point where if I'm listening to somebody sort of spew that kind of stuff, I just sort of let them get it out because I think if I can just sort of dead end them, eventually they'll tire themselves out not knowing what they're talking about and ideally move on to something else.
Yes.
So that's hopefully sort of wear them out by letting them think that they know what they're talking about.
But sometimes you have to pick your battles, and
that's also true. Yeah,
like,
it can be.
Right, this person is not going to listen.
You will not win them over, right? Something that I wanted to discuss tonight was actually, I mean, this is very much part of taking the time to understand, so we can change, and not because we're going to say the right thing and suddenly change somebody, but the idea of changing our world and changing what we want people around us to do or to listen to or to understand, and this. I'm trying to think. We were driving back from Home Depot, actually, and there were some people in the street. And I don't remember what exactly precipitated the conversation that we had about wishing for change in our city. But something happened with people either crossing the street, maybe they were jaywalking, maybe, I don't know. I truthfully don't remember exactly what happened.
feel like I remember the conversation, but I also don't remember the catalyst.
Yeah, and I can't remember exactly what caused it, but we got onto the discussion of wanting to change, you know, and what it started with is I love my city. And maybe it was we saw something unsavory that was happening and saying, I wish for people to be better. Because ultimately that's what it is I don't want to condemn anybody. I don't want to damn anybody. I don't want anybody to be worse or to fail or to be, you know, the only failure I want is something that will teach people to be better.
Yeah.
You know, I want that failure for myself as well too, is I want to do the things that will effectively make me a better person. But two large components came out of this. And one of the first ones was, if we want to be better, we have to be willing to accept that things will not always be good. If we want to improve our surroundings, if we want to do this, we have to understand that there's going to be tough things to wade through and a battle to be fought, right? But also that we must be willing to understand that we need to take the change that might not necessarily affect or benefit us, but those who come after.
I remember this conversation. I was about to say, what I remember about it was that we had said, when you invest in change in a place like that, you're not investing in something you may ever see.
That's correct.
You're investing in a change that will affect the generations that come after you.
Yes, it may be people well after us. It may be our children or our grandchildren. But it's going to be something that if you want to put the gears in motion, you might not see the end result. And that can be a tough pill to swallow, because the indulgence of saying, I want to do good because I want right now, of course we want that. But when you plant the seeds, you have to be willing to accept the fact that you might be fighting a fight that will not be won in your lifetime. Yeah. And that's a hard pill to swallow, because we want to see it. We want to see people be better. And I absolutely do too. Yeah. I want to see my city succeed. And one of the things that people ask is, you know, like, do you stay in Albuquerque? I've had this question come up. You know, why do you stay in Albuquerque knowing that there are better cities out there? And I say, because I'm going to make my city better. And maybe if I do it one thing at a time, and maybe if the only effect I have is I have a video game store with people that genuinely love you, and you walk in, it's that much better. And if I leave, it will not get better. That will not exist. That much love and passion leaves the city. And I'm not saying that I'm going to make the difference and, you know, do it all, but I want to plant the seeds, and I want to be part of something that says, you know, why would I stay in Albuquerque? Well, I'll give you at least one reason, and not to toot my horn, but because I will love you. I will give you my support. I will give you a safe haven. And no matter who you are or what you believe or what you think, I'm not going to judge. I'm not going to, you know, kick you out. I'm not going to ask you to stop being part of it unless you decide to hurt somebody, in which case I will kindly ask you to. But in the meantime, if you are around and you need a place to be that will let you be who you are, that is my store. That is my place. That is my sanctuary that I want to offer. And I know it's one small thing. It's not the mayor's office, who incidentally is doing a much better job recently and starting to really, you know, address a lot of really huge issues. And I'm not the governor. I'm not, you know, part of like a city council. I'm simply a guy who has a place that I want to be sanctuary. And if I leave, I take that much more with me. Yeah. You know, and maybe it will inspire somebody else. Maybe what happens that puts into motion is somebody sees it and says, I want to do that too. And then maybe somebody sees them and says, I want to do that too. And if you leave, that much more hope leaves with you. Yeah. You know? And also kind of like the question that I sometimes get, you know, hey, well, with you know the recession or Donald Trump or Obama or whoever it was in your video game store, you know, how have they affected it? You know, are you more or less successful? It has nothing to do with them. It has to do with me. It has to do with what I've put into it and the work that I've done and the people that I choose to surround myself with and the people that I've met and the people that I care about. And that is what has done it. It has nothing to do with anything that's leagues above me right now. You know, like those guys do not actually affect me. Yeah. What Obama has done, what George Bush has done, what Trump has done, those things are not on my radar. It has been the time and effort that I've put into doing what, as a small business owner, I need to do to make it work. And there's no excuse. If I fail, it's because I didn't do what I needed to do to make it work. Yeah. And if I succeed, it's because I put in the time, energy, love, and genuine effort to make it successful. Right on, man. We moved here because the cost of living is low and found opportunity to help a community recover from some serious issues. We can all make a difference at the local level. And Our cats are killing each other, but I understand. Okay. When it gets difficult, I understand the trepidation that people feel when it gets hard, because it can be discouraging. Morale can be lowered. I've had my store broken into. You know, we've had people walk in and hold us up at gunpoint, and those things are demoralizing in that moment, but they are not permanent. And the only way we can not let them win is to continue in the face of it, to push forth and fight back and say that doesn't stop us.
Yeah.
You know, and it will not. It is there's too many great people around here, and we have such a great community, and we genuinely have so many good people. Right now, we have a community of over 2,100 people on the GA Retro community page that are excellent people that I think understand exactly the rule set that I've been pushing and advocating for, which is to treat each other with respect. You can disagree civilly. You can have conversations that are conflicting and do so in a kind, understanding manner, and still be part of this community and still feel welcome. And, you know, I've been really trying to push for that. And it seems like in the past couple of months, that has gone much better. Noticeably, you know, because sometimes we would have things that happen at work, and I'd have to, you know, be called upon to, you know, hey, can you address this? This guy's saying this, or this guy's doing this, and it's I got things to do. And
Yeah,
months ago,
I
would have to, actually it was happening not regularly, but often. And in the past, like 3 months, I actually don't know that that's really come up.
I feel like it hasn't.
You know, like it's been a lot better. People are taking care of conversations more, or they know when to bow out of something. Because sometimes there's still disagreements, and that's fine. But I think sometimes people simply bow out appropriately and just say, I'm cool. You know,
yeah.
I'm done with this. And that's fine. You know, it's not optimal, but it's more optimal than continuing to argue and be toxic.
Yeah.
That is one of my favorite communities to call a home. That means the world to me. I want people to come. Basically, I said so in like this big pinned post, but if you would say something to somebody in the community, would you say that to their face in my store? You know, and that's a big thing, because the moment you're talking, you're representing Gamers Anonymous, you're representing me, you're representing my shop, and it's because the community is not simply just a storefront. My storefront is not just a storefront. The storefront is, you know, at its heart, the community and communal efforts and community involvement and community activity. So it's really important to me, and it's super cool to see that people have, you know, actually really put forth a ton of great, genuine, awesome effort. And that's where change has to start, is by saying, I'm not going to run away, but I'm going to contribute. I'm going to make it better. And it's hard sometimes. It's demoralizing sometimes. You know, the day after we get broken into, it's very easy to look at and go, I don't know what else to do. But I say, I'm not giving up. I'm going to continue to put forth effort in order to make it better this next time, bigger and better. The golden rule: treat people like you treat them to their face in my store. That is actually very true. Yeah. If you would you say that to, like, say some old lady comes in and she asks about a video game, she has no idea. Would you be a jerk to her face? No. And if you did, maybe this is not the community for you. John, I learned something today you might find interesting. Did you know that there are at least 7 Final Fantasy games? What? No, that's incorrect. There's 2, but they have like 12 different names each. So, little known facts. I miss you too, Kevin. Very, very, very much. I'm sorry I've been so busy. There's been so much going on.
I miss you too, Kevin.
Yeah, we miss you guys a lot. You and Cassidy and Devin and...
I saw Cassidy at PetSmart.
Yeah?
Yeah.
What's she doing?
Being beautiful.
There you go.
She was.
Yeah, Cassidy's great. That's fantastic. I miss you guys a lot. I miss Twin Peaks nights. I miss, you know, like...
start those again.
Okay, just do Twin Peaks again?
Yeah, I'm down. I want to start from the beginning, because I've only seen it once.
I'll get it back from Alex. We'll watch it again. But that would be great. But change this city, your beliefs, you know, they have to also encompass the willingness to listen and not speak to be right, but listen to understand. You know, if you want to say something, use it to ask questions, use it to further your knowledge. The moment somebody speaks and you're immediately resisting what they have to say, that is unproductive, and that will actually get you into a lot more trouble. And even if you vehemently disagree with people, I think it's really important to simply hear out what they have to say, formulate a good response, something that makes them.
You know what? Sometimes it's not even worth it because if you
That's true,
vehemently disagree, chances
Mhm.
are they're not going to care what you have to say.
Mhm.
That's why I said a minute ago, pick your battles.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
sometimes it's best to just know. What I was thinking
Mhm.
about when we talk about investing in the community is someone told me years ago some of the best advice I've ever gotten in my
Mhm.
life, which was bloom where you're planted.
Mhm.
And I think especially as an artist, and we've
Mhm.
talked about this a lot,
Mhm.
like there's a lot of temptation, especially growing up in New Mexico,
Mhm.
this belief that like I will never make it here.
Right.
Like I've got to go to Chicago, I've got to go to LA, I've got to go to New York, I've got to go to these places with big art communities, big music scenes, big whatever it is, movies, whatever it is, if you anything in the entertainment business, it's like I have to go somewhere else to make it. And the truth is, the reason New Mexico doesn't have anything like that is because we have been telling ourselves from the time we were young that there's no way to do it here, so we leave. It has
to be a grassroots effort,
and if you leave, it will never start.
It will not start. You will not foster that. You have to foster the interest of what you want.
And the fact is, just like you said before, sometimes you're investing in the people who come after you.
Yeah.
And if we as an entire generation of people were to sit down and plant our roots here and bloom here, the next generation of musicians and artists and filmmakers and everybody would have a solid foundation to grow on. But nobody's done it. It has to start somewhere.
Sure.
And I feel like
LA's didn't start because people left.
Yeah, LA's started because people stayed.
Because people stuck around.
Because people stayed.
Correct.
That's the whole thing. Is if you constantly leave, it will never. Right. It'll never get better. Albuquerque will never be a better city if you keep leaving it. It will only get better if you stay and make it better.
And it's tricky because we want the indulgence. We just said this a little bit earlier, but the indulgence of wanting it right now for us sometimes might need to be outweighed by, do I want it to exist here? Then I'm going to have to put in the legwork to make sure that it happens, and I might not ever see it. It might not be something that I experience, but I want to make it so my children have the opportunity, or their friends, or my children's children have the opportunity to see it someday. And that can be really hard. Hey, hi from Carlsbad, New Mexico. Josh also says, I think that there are at least 10 double Fiveville Fan City games. That's correct. Wow, the room looks like a room now. Way more structure, much less Ninja Turtle flavored chaos. Yeah, I took all the stuff off the. It's an actual office now. There's still a little bit of cleanup to do, but we're 90% there, and it feels very good to actually be in here. There's plants and stuff on the wall, and the gremlins are still here, so that's important.
Yeah, they're gonna stay.
Luke Frohawker says, one of the cultural things that has pushed me to embrace being an essayist and a writer is from realizing how much amazing art has always put out for hundreds of years.
Correct.
Yeah. It's incredible to think of all the things that have come far before us. You think of Edgar Allan Poe, you think of Plato, you think of John the Baptist. I think about those are my top three writers.
Interesting.
My ghost writers. Yeah.
It's quite a choice.
Well, I like to go for all ends of the spectrum.
Yeah.
But no, it's great to think that the art that we get to see has been.
Thank you for saying New Mexico. I thought that's what you meant.
Oh wow. Plato, little known fact, he's from Carlsbad. Edgar Allan Poe is from Artesia.
Name an author from New Mexico.
What's his name? Oh shoot. He's the one. I had this book when I was little. The Day It Snowed Tortillas.
Awesome.
No, truly, that's a book that I read when I was little. It was all just a bunch of New Mexican folklore, but it was from a local author, Dean Koontz.
There you go.
I don't know if he actually is, but he has like a bunch of Kachina stuff all over his books.
Weird.
Yeah. Tony Hillerman, that's the one.
Yeah.
Actually, that's what I was thinking of, not Dean Koontz. Rudolfo Anaya. Oh, Bless Me Ultima.
Yeah.
Yeah, Rudolfo Anaya was one. Let's see. Am I going to the event in Santa Fe? I'm actually going to try to make it down this weekend. There's a lot of stuff happening.
What's in Santa Fe?
The Meow Wolf Galaga tournament. It's happening over the course of 4 days. I think Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, if I'm not mistaken. And I want to try to make it up this weekend if I get the chance. We'll see if I can. I have lived all over Texas, traveled around the western U.S., and I can't imagine living anywhere else right now in the U.S. other than here. There's a lot of latent potential, and the people we've met are so nice. I think I read a report a year ago that said New Mexico is considered one of the nicest, or Albuquerque is considered one of the nicest cities.
I believe it.
Despite the fact that we do have a high crime rate on petty crimes, especially.
It's petty
really.
Crime. Yeah.
it is filled with absolutely wonderful people. You know,
I think there's a lot of misconceptions about New Mexico.
Yeah. How's Michelle doing? I haven't talked to her in a long time. She's doing all right. She's been really busy. I haven't had a chance to talk to her much either. Almost like in a month, really. Like it's always really in passing. But she did exclaim that she wants to come back onto the show when opportunity allows.
I can resume my spot on the couch.
Exactly. You get to sit over there off camera. Oh no, we can see you now because it's much more clear.
Yeah, it was like
yeah. And this camera also has like a wider viewing angle, so we get to see.
It does. You can see the whole room on this camera.
Yeah, yeah. We got a new webcam for the show, and it should be much higher fidelity for anybody who's watching.
You can see all of my blemishes.
Nope.
I don't care.
So, yeah, I mean, something that we've just been sort of thinking at, and this extends to, you know, starting at community levels, and we've talked a little bit about just the GA community. You've talked about the queer community, the bi, trans, lesbian, gay community, even just gaming community in general. One thing that's going to be really important is if you want people to have a good community to go to, you need to foster the interest of people who are in it. You know, and sometimes you are going to disagree on a fundamental level of your own tastes, your preferences. But if you want people to be part of a community and to be able to like feel welcome there and to invite others, it needs to be an inclusive, welcoming, willing to listen place. You know, if somebody walks into my store and they like a game that I don't like, my taste is irrelevant.
Doesn't really matter.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. There's no need for that. If somebody on the message board says I want Grand Theft Auto on the Switch, or if somebody says I want this or whatever on the PlayStation, or whatever it might be, there's unlikeliness of things happening. But to say that, you know, you're dumb or that's stupid or I don't want that, therefore it shouldn't happen, is a really great way to push people away from what a community can offer. Because engaging in discussion as to why it logistically couldn't happen is one thing, but to simply say your idea is dumb or what you think is dumb, or to make people feel like their expression is invalid, is the best way to destroy community, because people will make that association about all of it. There was a video game store here in town that ended up doing something that I think shook a lot of faith in one person specifically. I can't speak for the whole thing. This might be an isolated incident, but it was a story I actually heard from some customers who were in this shop, and they walked into this video game store, who also dealt with like magic cards and other things. And when this guy walked into the store while they were there and said, "Hey, I have this magic card. I'd like to sell it." And the guy behind the counter looked at it and said, "Okay, well, we can give you $25 for this card." And he was like, "Oh, wow, that sounds really good. I'd like to do this. It's very disheartening.
Yeah.
I would like to trade this card. It's $25. That's really, really good." So the clerk takes it, and then basically transaction is done. He goes, "Oh, by the way, this card is worth $300. And so the man goes, "Oh, well, I didn't know that. Can I have it back?" And the guy goes, "Nope, it's ours. And this is, you know, accounted from my friends." And he says, "Well, but why did you tell me it was 25?" He goes, "That's the buying price," which it can be the buying price, but if you don't tell somebody the whole story of what it's actually worth, it might not be. And so what it did is it shook the faith in a man who walked into a store where he trusted that they were going to take care of him. They didn't. And now, is there another store that might? He doesn't know. Do all stores do this? Maybe. And
he'll start to believe.
He'll start to believe that. And that's the thing is, from his perspective, from his angle and experience, now suddenly I don't trust any of these stores.
Yeah.
So, and it doesn't just affect, you know, that store. It affects my store because it affects my community. It affects people who are here to try to get the best value and to try to get the trust that is required to make something like this work. And so, you know, even one situation can really disrupt and shake up a whole thing. And if it starts with one person, he might tell somebody else, and then he might tell somebody else. And, you know, I think 1 out of every 10 experiences, if they're good, gets recalled, whereas the rest, if they're bad, although it's going to be a very skewed ratio. Yeah, exactly. And even Josh says that we're discussing video games in terms of you know, a game that I might not like is a game that might be the world to somebody else. But even then, even if there's no like communal value to it, even regarding the worst reviewed, critically panned games, someone poured a lot of time and effort into it. They probably stayed late working on it many nights, thousands of person hours, and sometimes you are dealt a bad hand. Sometimes you get a project you don't want to work on. I was playing Home Alone tonight, which is arguably one of my least favorite NES games. Nonetheless, 12 people did their job. 12 people were, you know, requested to do something, and it might not have been their fault that somebody said, hey, we got the Home Alone license. You've got 2 months to do this. And they were just like, what do we do? And the guy's like, I don't know, figure it out. Nonetheless, they still have to make ends meet. They still have to make a paycheck. They still have to put together a product because that is the definition of what they do for a living. Yeah. And maybe it's not well received. I'm not a fan of the game, but I still don't want to discredit the fact that this was made by people who did their best. Maybe they didn't do their best. Maybe they did. And I can't decide that. I have no say. I have no allowance to say that what they did or didn't do was good or bad. They did their job.
This is not for you.
This is not for me, and it's very much not for me. And I've never met anybody who's it for. But if it's for somebody, then it's valid. Yeah. Even if it's not for anybody, it was still somebody's product, and it's valid. Yeah. I don't ever want to take something away from this world simply because it is not to my interest. That doesn't make any sense to me. You know?
Yeah.
I still even have a physical copy of Home Alone in that room, fully boxed with instructions, and damn it, I like it on my shelf. Do you have any cats in your store? No. No, we do not. We had one that came in yesterday, and he got adopted today by a friend of mine, and he was one of the cutest, sweetest, best animals I've ever seen come through those stores. A released game is an achievement to me. It's kind of mind-boggling that jillions of bits can come together and produce something even halfway coherent.
Yeah.
That is true. I mean, music, art, paint, stipple, literature, words, little, you know, arbitrary symbols that we've encoded a meaning into that can give us an entire spectrum of visual, like anything. Mind-blowing.
Even a book that is maybe objectively not good.
It's still creation.
It's published.
Oh, it's incredible.
It's impressive.
Yeah.
Writing books is hard.
Oh, yeah. I'm trying to write The Island of Dr. Corn, and I haven't worked on it in 2 years because I'm just writing, I'm just typing random stuff. But
it's hard. I finished the book, and it's hard.
That's hard. Yeah, creation is not an easy thing.
It's hard.
And I think it's sometimes very easy to sit as the armchair analyst. Are you familiar with Syd Barrett?
Yes.
I am not. What is Syd Barrett? Who is Syd Barrett? Tell me more.
I'm going to let Luke Frohawker do that.
Uh-oh. Who the hell buys cards at 1/12th market value? That's so frustrating.
1/12th?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
somebody's trying to rip you off.
Yeah, that's somebody who doesn't have your best interest in mind, somebody who doesn't want to foster your best interest. And that's a really frustrating thing to hear. You know, I will tell you one thing is that I am not as interested in profit margins as I am making sure people have a fair value because I prefer to work in volume, trust, and repetition than I am maximizing a profit. You know, I have to make a living. I have to pay employees, cats, lights, bills, whatever.
Cats. I like the cats.
Bears always on the list. I mean, because the moment you introduce an animal, I think people understand that, like, this feeds my animals. This feeds the cats we have in the store. Like, it is not just an arbitrary thing that goes towards...
And the monsters that are outside the door right now.
Those guys right there.
Yeah.
But, you know, and I obviously have to make a living and grow the business so I can provide more and more services. But I'm not going to do so by trying to, like, destroy people's trust in my store by buying a game for $1 and selling it for 90. You know?
It's like that. I won't say it. That shop we went to.
Oh, yeah. We visited a store at one point, and the prices were extremely high, and it was very, very hard to see because there was a lot of talk about, you know, well, my business isn't succeeding, and unfortunately it was because it was selling for 3 times the average eBay value. I mean, it was bad. Okay, so Syd Barrett, original singer for Pink Floyd that literally went lunatic. The song Echoes is written about him. One day the band just didn't pick him up on the way to a show, so they went their separate ways.
He also wrote Shine On You Crazy Diamond.
Okay.
He lost his mind. Like,
I see.
He's doing like a lot of drugs and making a lot of choices.
Yeah.
Like the reason I was asking for you to explain is I don't know why you're bringing him up.
I'm curious. Okay.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, we'll continue the conversation.
He's a fascinating individual, but
Shine On You Crazy Blind Man.
Crazy Diamond?
The guy who
Oh.
Yeah, it sits outside the store and polishes your shoes in the 50s. Is that the lyrics? Syd never wanted anything to do with the band afterwards, including royalties up until his death. He spent his life painting stuff and then immediately burning the paintings.
I didn't know
Okay, so he was creating for the sake of needing to create and then destroying because it was maybe the impermanence wasn't.
Yeah, it's not made for anybody else. That's fascinating. I didn't know that.
Huh.
Huh.
That's my assumption anyway. That's really interesting.
That is really interesting.
I have to research
so many people that do that. Like, sometimes what I always say when I say this is not for you, that's actually a quote from the dedication page of one of my favorite books.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if any of you have read House of Leaves by Mark Danielewski. Is an incredibly impressive piece of experimental fiction, and it's an impressive book. Like a lot of time and energy and work went into that book. And the dedication page says, "This is not for you." And to me, I think that was really resonant as somebody who creates things. Yeah, it's an incredible book. To see that somebody put that much time and that much effort and that many sleepless nights and that much everything to then say, I didn't make this for anybody else. I made this for myself.
Sure.
And to put that in the dedication page, even to say like this, I made this for me. This is not for you.
Fantastic.
Like that was an incredible.
Not everything created is for you.
Yeah.
Yep. Or for anybody.
It helped me really reframe, I think, what the purpose of making art is even for.
So Luke follows up and says, he didn't create the art for selling, though they would have had significant value. It was the act of creation that made him an artist.
Of course.
The act of creating to create art.
Tell it to Pat.
Absolutely.
We had a long discussion about what made art.
Yeah, and if video games were art or not. Josh says, I love that book, and holy crap, I read that in a couple sittings. It's amazing.
It's an outstanding book. If you liked books like that, Josh, there's a book called Night Film by the author's Marisha Pessl.
I still need to see that one, or read that one.
And it's outstanding. I think you'd like that as well. There's another book called People of Paper by Salvador Plasencia that I think you should read. If you liked House of Leaves, I recommend both of them.
Joseph asked if I played the drums. I play the Rock Band drums only because I don't have an actual drum set, but if I had a real drum set, I'd play the drums. So I do, but I just don't have...
You just have that one drumstick.
I play them, Def Leppard style.
Yeah. We have 2 drums and sticks in this room, and they're not a match.
That's true.
Yeah.
That's true.
We use that one to poke a hole in the ceiling.
That is actually true. Yeah, for these great little what are these called, hooks?
Molly hooks.
Molly hooks. These are perfect because it's actually if you pop it up there and hit it with a hammer, it makes just a big enough hole for this to slip through. Yeah, it's terrific. So, yeah. Okay. There's a couple books you recommend. That's always good.
Yeah. House of Leaves is outstanding. It's outstanding. I
recommend My Custom Van by Michael Ian Black. That is one of my favorite books of all time. I recommend it to anybody. I
recommend a lot of books. Just if you liked House of Leaves, that's what I recommend. Those other 2. They're really similar. They're like related. Like, they're
similar style.
If you read them, you'll know what I mean.
I'm gonna have to check out a couple more of those. But instead of books, I just play Uncharted.
I like to read.
I like to read video games, the colors and the controls on the screen.
I don't think there's anything wrong with that.
I don't either. I think what's actually really fun is when very importantly is you never dismiss it as, oh, you don't read, you just play video games, because the video games I was showing you was my books. I've read books, but that's how I experience stories. Those are the kinds of things that I got involved in. And showing you Earthbound, I think was actually really exciting for me because it was less of just it wasn't, Call of Duty, hey, play this game and blast the dudes, where there's a narrative present.
Yeah, it was like a narrative driven story kind of thing.
Yeah, and you still got to experience characters and their interactions, but also got to be part of your experience with it.
It was something I'd never experienced before because I'd never played video games before I met
That's true. You played seek and find games on your iPad or the computer.
I do. I do. That's my guilty pleasure. Or like Christmas time, I have those Christmas themed ones.
Yeah, absolutely.
Don't laugh at me for that.
Hey, whatever is in your interest, that is in my interest. Would you guys mind posting some book recommendations on Facebook at some point? I think it's a great idea.
Man, my list will go on forever, so you gotta rein me in. You gotta tell me what you like.
I got 5 good ones.
I'm about to start teaching.
Mine's gonna be Where the Red Fern Grows. Choose Your Own Adventure books. I have some Mario Choose Your Own Adventure books. Am I trying to grow a beard? Not exactly. Like, I let the goatee get a little bit longer. I actually usually like it a little bit shorter. But I'm just going along just to see what happens. In fact,
I braided it the other day.
She did. Yeah. I prefer actually a little bit shorter facial hair, to be totally honest. But, you know, I also don't grow like a lot of facial hair anyway. So I've been fine just sparsely decorating.
You should just like trim it up really well everywhere and then get like, I've said this to you before, like that wax and then like twirl it to like a fancy sculpted mustache.
I learned how to read playing Final Fantasy VIII. That's, you know, video games when I was younger, 2 huge catalysts for me were video games that had text in them, such as Legend of Zelda and Nintendo Power. Because a video game dedicated magazine was so up my, you know, venue of interest that why would I not want to learn to read what they're talking about in the world of video games? Yeah. You know, that to me, and comic books I think are a huge one for people as well.
Yeah, I read a lot of comic books. Yeah. I read a lot of comic books. I still read a lot of comic books. Not so much, but like I still like comic books.
I still like you.
I like you. Weird.
I'm down for anything. I used to own over 1,000 books, but sadly sold most of them when we moved from Texas. Reading was my biggest hobby for many years, mostly nonfiction.
Nonfiction. I don't read a lot of nonfiction. I like fiction.
You like fiction books?
Yeah.
It's hard to say something like the MGS series is not art and that it lacks the depth of a proper novel. There's so much to read and examine and research in game narratives. Metal Gear Solid is a type of art that I have never experienced before because it is not just a game. It's a game that has a self-awareness that it presents in terms of, you know, what it does to break the fourth wall, but also to give the player that most video games don't do because it's narrative driven. And it's funny because at times Metal Gear isn't even gameplay driven. Metal Gear Solid 4 is largely a lot of experiencing cutscenes that tie together everything you've done prior. And there's, you know, some gameplay involvement.
I didn't like physically play it.
You just got to watch and experience it. But yeah, those games are really
like capable enough to have played that game by myself.
Even on easy at sometimes, because when we're going through like just to experience it for story and stuff, I usually don't care about the challenge, and sometimes I don't want to have her watch me die over and over. So I'll play certain games on easy just so we can be like, all right, let's go ahead and, you know,
I'm not gonna try to
play for the sake of story. And then some games I do genuinely like the gameplay.
Pizza stuck in my teeth. I'm so sorry.
How dare you? What did you just say? A piece of pizza? Like a slice?
No, it's like one of those.
Like a full-on.
Like a pepper.
Pepper. This is what you have to deal with all the time.
I can feel it. It's like in my gums.
Oh, that feels nice.
That's awful.
Instead of rubbing cocaine in your gums, you take crushed red peppers and just.
Yeah.
Yeah, that would be a problem though.
I would.
Yeah, I mean, we could have a whole conversation about video games as art, and in terms of like, I think what both of us subscribe to, and we probably don't have time to actually get super in depth into this at this point. Is
most things are art.
I would consider the act of creating one's self at any given point art. Whatever you're doing to define yourself, whether it's playing a video game or reading a book or writing a book or making food or whatever you're choosing to do at any given moment in time, I would say is artistic in some form or another. And whether or not it's published art or public art or something that you can present to people purposefully, you know, like,
because art is expression.
Art is a form of expression.
Yeah, it's all, yeah.
To me, art is any creative construction that invites emotion. I've watched a lot of movies, felt nothing, beat Final Fantasy 15, completely lost control of my emotions. We still need to play, I mean, we'll do it eventually. But we're actually, Pat and I were discussing that. And that game absolutely did things that I did not expect. In fact, that game defied a lot of expectations for me in many ways, especially traditional to Final Fantasy. And it kind of made me, it flipped a lot of ideas on its head, and it hit me a lot harder than I expected. Holy smokes. Even just watching the ending credits was like, oh, damn. So it's very good. It is very good.
I like story.
It is basically Stand By Me with swords and monsters.
Yeah, I barely remember that movie.
We should watch it.
There's like a bunch of little kids and
in
like
the train
track.
Yep. That's it.
That's all I remember.
Yep. Yeah, creative construction that incites emotion. I agree.
And because emotion is so varied and so personal, it's such a huge umbrella of things that can encompass art. Is that it's personal, you know, it's something that would be important or striking to me may be absolutely nothing and worthless to you, but that doesn't make it any less art.
Sure.
And I think that's what's important, is that something I used to say all the time to my students is that there's a difference in an opinion and a fact.
Yes.
And I don't like this is an opinion, and it's perfectly valid. And it's important for us to have opinions about things that we like or we don't like.
And to acknowledge that they are valid.
Right.
In the opinion.
But what we don't get to do is say this is not good or this is not art, because those are facts and they're incorrect. You don't have to like something, but you don't get to invalidate it. Simply
Even if it's not for you. It is simply, we have
this is not for you.
Very important.
That's all it is.
What's the cover look like on Final Fantasy 15? The 4 dudes probably in the middle of like a desert with a car. I think. I don't know offhand. They just redid like the collector's edition. It has some extra stuff on it.
Josh, I agree with you.
Art is so awesome, and science is too, because it's really important that we invent a time turner from Harry Potter so we can experience more art.
Yeah.
Yes.
I like Harry Potter.
I know. You had me watch the whole movie series, because I bought it like 2 years ago, and I hadn't watched it until last year with you. I had seen Uncle Werewolf's Big Adventure and part of Harry Potter and the Fishy Hallows, where he gets the webbed feet. And that's the only 2 things I knew. Incidentally, I've actually written, at that point in time before I had watched the movies, I had written more Harry Potter fan fictions than I had seen movies, and I think they were better for it. And now if I write more Harry Potter fan fiction, they're skewed because I have too much knowledge.
I'm not going to comment on any of that.
I know. You're speechless.
I need chapstick.
Changing the subject. Yeah. Incidentally, you should go read my Harry Potter fan fiction. It's in my notes. And not spoiling anything, Cassidy watched me beat it. And at the end, she said that was their Final Fantasy with the context of what just happens. I think you understand why that isn't just accurate. It's 15 is so good. And we can actually New Game Plus to go through it a lot faster if you want to experience just the story with me. And I would love to play it again. It is very good. What I'm doing is actually I'm finishing up Uncharted 4 right now, because I was in the middle of playing that when Final Fantasy 15 came out. And I didn't finish it because Final Fantasy 15 was higher priority. And now I'm going back to Uncharted 4, and I restarted it to show Ariel. And I actually forgot how unbelievably impressive that game is. That game is flabbergasting to me. Uncharted 4 is one of the coolest games I think I've ever played. What are the consoles that play 15? I think it just hit PC, but it's on Xbox One and PS4. And I want to read that fanfic. Well, if you go to my personal page, you can see it. I have some Twilight fan fictions that I also wrote knowing very little about the... I have 50 Shades of Grey. These are generally by request. Sometimes I would just go to work and nothing would be happening. And they're a lot more fun when I'm not trying to think about writing them. I just write them. Like the words just spill forth from my fingertips. That is art. That is art.
I'm looking like that.
My fan fictions are a work of art.
I'm not going to invalidate who you are or what
can't.
you accomplish, but they're not for me.
You can't. You just don't like incredible works of written literature.
I must not.
It's okay. It's okay. Someday you'll reach that echelon. I'm sorry.
No, you're not.
It goes from House of Leaves to Harry Potter and the Final Wizard, which is, I think it was my first fan fiction. I don't remember the names of any of them. They're very good, though.
This is a picture of you decapitated.
Oh, right. Let's see if we can show this. We went to the main event. I don't think it's, oh, it kind of shows it. And I was wearing a green shirt in the green screen room, and so it enabled some really interesting stuff, including me choking my own head. It's kind of cool. But, yeah. I don't know. Anyway. That's it. That's the end. I really want to play Far Cry 5.
You didn't want to buy it, you said.
I do want to buy it. Well, because I want to play it. Yes, I have Star Wars theories about droids having full self-actualization and therefore can have the Force act upon them. Look at R2 and C-3PO always dodging death. That's fair. For all intents and purposes, they should be dead.
Can a droid die? Or does a droid just, turn off?
I can get destroyed like the Terminator.
But is a droid alive?
there's some sort of self-awareness that they've both got. It's not strict programming. They have to have some sort of artificial intelligence, and I would consider that living. Johnny Five, he can die. Like, he can die. You know? Those other robots, they can be shut off. Johnny Five can die. I don't want him to die.
What does it use as deactivate?
Disassemble. Those are really good movies.
I cried.
Oh, me too.
Oh, I cried.
Both of them.
I cried.
Data is alive. Look at where C-3PO got his red arm, his Metal Gear Solid Phantom Pain arm.
Huh?
And remember in episode 7? C-3PO has a red arm. Remember that?
No.
Yeah, straight up like he's in the movie. And hey, see you in April, Joseph. Thanks for swinging by the podcast. Watch episode 7 again. In fact, we'll watch it at some point. But yeah, he's straight up got like a Phantom Pain Big Boss arm. 100%. You have your phone? Look at this right now. I want you to see it. It is straight up the Phantom Pain young man.
Young man. C-3PO Phantom Pain Young Man.
Correct. That is, yeah, that's the official title.
Episode 7.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And he's not in the movie a lot for episode 7, but he's in it enough.
Oh, he does have a red arm.
Yeah.
Wait, that's a toy, though. Let's see the actual...
The actual movie clip or screenshot or something. Pretty good. Ooh.
Oh, weird. Why does he have a red arm?
Big Boss?
He does have a red arm.
Yeah, Big Boss.
No, you can't see my phone.
No, I can see your phone, but the camera cannot. Oh, those pouting faces you guys made look constipated. I love you guys. Let's see. Read the comic that explains it. Actually, that's true. I think there's a supplementary comic you can check out to... You looked less constipated and more like the poop just left. Have you ever had a phantom poop? Like where you poop and you can feel it come out and you look in the toilet, there's nothing there?
Probably. I don't think about poop the way that you do, though, because I think I poop a lot more than you do.
You should think about it often, then more often.
I don't put the same kind of weight on it. I don't care about my poop.
That's, you need to, for your health, all right?
I care about it for my health, but, like, I don't, there's nothing.
Is this how we're going to end the Blue Lady podcast? Is discussing the fundamentals of caring about your stool?
I care enough to make sure that I'm healthy, and that's...
So you look.
Hmm?
So you want to make sure it's not black.
It's been like that before.
Right, exactly. So
I've had an ulcer.
This is why it's important to make sure that you're studying them. So if you were to look down and feel that you pooped and you look down and there's nothing there, you'd probably remember that, right?
I just went into the toilet. That's all that happens.
Ghost?
No.
I am craving Taco Bell right now.
Are we going to go Taco Bell?
Yeah.
I want ice cream.
Taco Bell and ice cream? We are adults. This is the best part about adulthood is like when I was like 10, it was like, I want to stay up and watch television with my brother. And now it's like, I'm old enough and I don't even want to watch TV. I just want to go eat bad food with my girlfriend. It's great.
Yeah.
This is life. This is living. Also, if you're simply just listening to this podcast and we've devolved into this, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
But thank you for listening up to this point anyway.
But yeah, it's just human.
I don't know if we have anything more poignant to say after this, but you continue to listen and it becomes a comedy podcast for the last 13 minutes.
I'm not comedy. I don't say funny things.
You do. I think you don't think you do.
I do.
But you do. John, what would you name a poop that feels like it's huge, like you struggle to get it out, but when you see it, it's small and underwhelming?
Oh, I've had those.
I have too. That's weird. Yeah. What would I name it? God,
What does QED mean?
Quick end dead.
I don't think so.
I'm pretty sure that's exactly what it means. Well, I mean, man.
I don't name poops.
No, not like Steve or Jeff or anything, but like, how would you classify it? Like, elefantante, or
I don't know why I talk to you.
or grape-esque, like, just not in terms of taste. That's weird.
Jonathan.
Quod erat demonstrandum. Why did you leave?
What does that mean, though?
You got a phone. You have all the knowledge in the world at your fingertips. And you ask Josh what that means.
Well, he can answer.
Well, I mean, he will eventually.
I'm looking it up.
It's at the end of mathematical proofs, signaling that it has been proven.
See, I looked it up, and apparently it's a movie.
I'm sure it's both. Look how much more knowledge you have versus 20 seconds ago. You found out what it meant, and you know that it's a movie now. This is incredible. There's no knowledge that is not power.
I can't eat Taco Bell, so if I ate Taco Bell, boy, would it be a
That's
movie
true.
kind of night.
Exactly. Yeah, you'd have to name it something. Taco Bell and ice cream sounds like the start to a pooping kind of night. No, it absolutely does. And I don't know why I'm craving it, but I'm going to indulge myself. I feel like I've earned it by wanting it.
That's adulthood at its core.
It's adultery.
No. What are you going to do to the Taco Bell?
Eat it. Oh, the building or the food?
Nothing.
I'm just saying. If anyone label that kind of poop at John Sakura, I'd actually have to think about it because I want to make it a good name. Quid pro quo.
Weird.
Why?
That has another meaning.
Does it? What do you think the original meaning is? Small poop that feels big. Ask, who's the father of Latin?
Not you.
Dr. Herschel Latin. Well, that's like Professor Layton, Herschel Layton. Holy crap. I made a connection. You need to play the Professor Layton games, by the way. You like puzzles.
I do.
Oh, you would like those games an awful lot. They're very good. And he's charming. He's a dapper, debonair British gentleman. QED poop that has been demonstrated. Sodomize his mouth with burritos all the way to his stomach. That's aggressive. That's Ramses. He just popped in to say that.
He's been here. He said Data is alive, I think.
Oh, he did, right up there.
I pay attention.
Sorry, Ramses. I'm sorry. I was distracted thinking that you were hanging out with Kitty. What did you name your kitty, by the way? Kurama?
Kurama.
Kurama.
From my favorite anime.
Kurama's car. Kurama is
from Yu Yu Hakusho.
Yu Yu Hakusho. I'm sorry, Ramses. I was ignorant.
I'm gonna make him watch it, Ramses, one of these days.
I'll watch it. You know what we have to watch is Westworld. They just dropped the trailer for season 2, and oh my god, I am amped beyond words. Kurama. Playing with Kurama. Yeah, that's one of the cutest cats I've literally ever seen. He's one of the sweetest, best, well-behaved animals I've ever met. I'm excited.
Bang.
To get shot by a drumstick.
Or hit what? Bang, bang, bang. You hit drumsticks and they make the sound bang.
Do they bang?
You bang on the drums?
Ringo Starr bangs on the drums. I play the drums.
Ringo Starr is a knight. Sir Ringo
He
Starr.
is. He's a knight. He just got knighted last week. Oh, yeah, Josh. Westworld. Holy balls. Seriously. We need to watch it. It's 10 episodes for season 1. Season 2 hits 4/22. Oh, it's so good. And that's one we could binge watch because I always each episode's like an hour.
Doesn't it sound like a Michael Crichton book?
Isn't
that based on a Michael
Crichton
book?
Yes, and it is great. It is very, very, very great. Like, if you say, hey, how this is great.
You recommended it to me too. It's been recommended to me by many people.
What are we doing? Taco Bell and Westworld.
I want to finish Uncharted.
I'll finish Uncharted. I love that game. Doesn't look like anything to me. I have 30 minutes of the last episode of Westworld left. It's so good. I want to watch it again very badly. We should finish up Uncharted. We probably won't finish it tonight. There's still a lot of chapters left. But let's go get Taco Bell and play Uncharted. How's that sound?
I want ice cream, though.
I'll pick you up some ice cream. We actually have some ice cream in the fridge. What kind of ice cream do you want?
They don't have ice cream at Taco Bell today.
No.
Why not?
I don't know. They really should. This is what this podcast has really been leading up to. Is why don't they have ice cream at Taco Bell? They probably will soon. They're introducing like nachos and fries. So ice cream's next. That's it. I got nothing.
Like a milkshake or something.
I'm going to McDonald's and get a milkshake. Under that, it's probably easier because every place else that's going to sell ice cream is probably closed other than Walmart.
Yeah. How long is Sonic open?
Probably.
McDonald's is closer though, huh?
McDonald's is, going to be easier. It's up to you though. I mean, we can go up to the Taco Bell in Montgomery and then on the way back, or get Sonic on the way to Taco Bell up Montgomery. People don't even know where we live. Oh my gosh, we're in Albuquerque. How do I feel about God of War? Like in general or the new one? Yeah, we'll be done here in a second. I'm going to say I'm excited for the new one. I'm very, very curious what all the changes are going to entail. And I like the first 2 games quite a bit. 3 I think was fine. And then I didn't play the PSP ones. So, I fell off a little bit, but I'm really pumped for how new the new one looks. So, also, Luke, Ramses, Josh, Kevin, Joseph, everybody who's been here, Alex, thank you guys for watching. It's always fun to converse with people and just hang out and just, it's nice to be back in the groove of this after a month. So I can't wait to see you guys at the end of next month. That's probably what's going to happen. We'll try to do it next week.
Next week, we will do it.
Something's going to come up. That's why I don't like scheduling things, because something always comes up. Friends in town, families in town, something bad happens, something good happens. I don't know. The new one. I really want to play the new one. That's all. That's all I can tell you. We're going to go grab some Taco Bell. Oh, that's the Black Panther thing. I wasn't even thinking about that. Cool.
There's a poster on the wall. All the way.
Oh, yeah, it's right there.
It's right.
Right there.
Yes.
Okay. Black Panther.
Angela Bassett was in that movie.
Yeah, it was awesome. It was great.
I have a crush on her.
I love you guys. I love all of you guys. Thank you guys for joining us tonight. It means an awful lot, and I think it's a lot of fun. This is fellowship, having fellowship with your friends. I can't even speak. I'm so excited. I want Taco Bell so bad. Taco Bell's my friend. Okay. Yeah, thank you guys. We'll be back next week, 9 to 10:30. And if you watch from 6 to 7, I'll play another set of video games.
And I will be in the other room watching RuPaul.
Correct. That's correct. All right. Until next time, thank you guys for watching, and we'll see you soon. I still have to make the event for Deadpool tomorrow. I haven't done that all week long. We're watching Deadpool tomorrow. So from 9 o'clock until 11? Come join us at the store. Free entry. Deadpool. Thanks. Bye.